Hey you guys, it's Dani. I, number one, want to say welcome to 2020. I'm super jazzed about this year because last year was a whole pile of shit and I'm ready for it to be over. So glad it's gone. Not all of it was bad. Not all of it was bad. But I am glad that it has left us. Because I feel like I've been scrubbed clean in 2020 already. So here's what I'm going to be doing. I want to do kind of like my faves of 2019, but I started doing this video and realized that I had way too much to talk about in some things and not a lot to talk about in others. And I was like, if I put this all in one video, it's gonna be way too long. So I decided to break it up into smaller pieces and kind of go over my tarot and oracle favorites and maybe what I didn't care for so much in 2019. I'm going to do my books, what I read, what I didn't finish reading kind of idea. I want to talk about the journals and planners that I used in a totally different one as well, especially because not everyone that watches my channel wants to hear about my planners. Not everybody that watches my channel wants to hear about my books, or maybe they only come for one thing. You could only come for my planners and hate everything else, or you could only come for my tarot and not be interested in anything else. So that's how I kind of wanted to break it down. But in this first video, I want to talk about depth year. So I started off with quite a few goals going into 2019 with my depth year, and honestly it kind of fell to the wayside. In the end, I feel like the idea and concept of depth year, ooh, that was really hard to say. The concept and the main focus about depth year really did stay in certain aspects, but in others it really fell to the wayside. Like I said, I didn't want to add any new projects, like learn anything new. I just wanted to focus on what I was doing, kind of get better at that. But I ended up getting Skillshare this year, which I absolutely love. It was later in the year, but I'm really loving that. I'm really expanding what I'm knowing. And the reason that I got it is because I got the Apple Pencil to go with my iPad. Now, I didn't get an iPad Pro or anything like that. Maybe next year. But I wanted to expand and learn digital art because I felt like it was just as important as learning and expanding on my physical artwork. And so I did add that, and then this machine back here. I got a silhouette because I use my art to kind of send to my machine, put on vinyl, heat transfers, things of that nature, which go into my Etsy shop, which has grown quite a bit this year, which I'm really excited about. So I did expand when it comes to that, although it's still the focus of like my artwork. So does it count? I guess it counts. But, you know, that's one thing that I don't feel like I added something completely different. Like I didn't go and learn pottery, which I really wanted to do, but I didn't because I felt like that was a bit too much, which I still think I might push back another year and just continue to do a deep dive on the art that I'm working on right now, which is my vinyl work, my digital art, my tarot deck kind of thing. So that didn't go so well because I did add certain things to that. Now, as far as my buying is concerned, it was way down. And that's what I mean. Like, although I didn't pay as much attention, I did end up scaling back a lot this year when it comes to that, as well as clothes buying and buying in general. We scaled way back on that. I think I maybe bought 4 decks this year. So it wasn't like the years before where like I was getting 1 or 2 a month. And I feel like my collection is kind of right where I want it. There's not a lot that I'm bringing in. They're all very niche now, and there's a lot that I've started to kind of get rid of as well. I don't think I did very bad when it came to clothing. Like I said, I really didn't do a whole lot of shopping. It was only maybe once or twice. Of course, Black Friday deals, I did go get me some $5 shirts because I did say I wanted to try to keep my spending low, and so I kind of set a goal to not really spend much more than $10 on a garment. I was just kind of like putting things back in, things that were getting old and nasty. So yeah, I didn't do very bad when it came to clothes, but when it came to kind of getting rid of and going through the things that I had, we really have been constantly doing waves of cleaning out and giving away things, whether that be home decor or clothing or dishes and things like that. We moved from such a huge space when we lived in Dallas to when we moved here, and it's been 4 years, and there are still things that we've been like that we brought from Dallas that we've been like putting in one closet, and then we'd like put it in another, and then we'd come back and find another space for it, and it's just like, okay, enough. We cannot keep doing this. We're not using these things. We just keep them in case. Like, we'll get another one if we end up needing it. Like, it's not worth it. So we started doing that, and we've been doing kind of room by room, kind of clean sweeping and doing things of that nature. Now, we did redo our living room area. We did redo Lynn's room for Christmas. We got her a whole new art studio room, and she's absolutely in love with it. I'll probably do a house tour and kind of talk to you guys about what we've been doing and our work on Lynn's room and kind of where we're going next. We're kind of doing room by room and just kind of cleaning out, clearing the air, and resetting and completing it from top to bottom before moving on, because we've been in this limbo for 4 years. Like, oh, we'll start something and then, we'll do it good enough and then move everything back in and just kind of whatever, instead of like really completing the task. It's always, it's nice, it's beautiful, it's workable, but it wasn't finished. And we started at the end of 2019, making the commitment to start and complete our tasks. And Lynn's room was one of the first times we were like, we got everything we needed, down to the curtains and all the little things, the tins and jars, all labeled and beautiful and functional, top to bottom, done, nothing left. And that's kind of where we are and how we're going to be kind of continuing on. So we've done very well kind of starting the clean sweeps and stuff in 2019. So I'm hoping to continue that on and kind of finish up our house after so many years already of just kind of putting band-aids. And I say band-aids, we have a beautiful house. We bought this thing and it was fine the way it was, but Jacob and I have this creative monster within us that just needs to personalize everything. It's crazy. So, what else? I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. When it came to depth year, I think that was about it. I went through a really rough time this year with the loss of my grandmother in January of 2019. I keep saying this year, but I'm talking about 2019. We're in 2020 already, but old habits die hard, right? So I lost my grandmother in January, And then my career, because I did work as a contractor in the oil and gas field, and that kind of tanked around the second quarter. And so that made me have to find something different, right? Which, I mean, I did it for 12 years of my life. This was my career, and I still do it. Whenever there's work, I still do it, but the change that made, and what I had to do emotionally to detach myself from my career is not who I am. There are other avenues that can be, fulfilling. It was a big shakeup. Because it really messed with my own identity. And again, there was that sense of loss that kind of carried through, and it was just like another huge hit to change and do something that, I love now, is completely different. But in the time was such a grieving process to kind of rearrange and detach my whole being from what always was, right? Or what seemed to have always been. And then things started to kind of get back on track, and we suddenly lost Jacob's grandmother, who we lived right down the road from. Lennon would walk to her house almost every single day. We lost her on the 31st of October. And so that kind of shook us all up at the end of the year. There was so much going on, still kind of putting pieces together from, earlier in the year, and then to have something so traumatic happen out of the blue, which is life. You know what I mean? So we had a lot to deal with there. And then I feel like while Lennon understood and had a bit of trouble when my grandmother passed away, she spent a lot of time with my grandmother, but nothing like with Jacob's grandmother. They were best friends. You know what I mean? They were best friends. She called her all the time, and they talked to each other every day. Lennon would go walk over all the time. I'm going to Mama's, I'm going to hang out over there. Like, she and Jacob's grandmother just were two peas in a pod. So it was very difficult for her. And then she started having a lot of experiences once that happened. And you're looking at someone who passed away on Samhain. And there was a lot of chaos going on in the front. Lennon and I came straight to the back. And the experiences that I was able to kind of walk her through and be with her through such an energetically intense time, and then you add that on top, it was a crazy time. So yeah, it's been an intense year. 2019 was super intense from beginning to middle to end. It kept us on our toes, and it felt like this. I described it to one of my friends. It's kind of like when you stand in the water, right? Like in the ocean, and a wave is about to come. And you can feel it on your feet, all the sand pulling back. Like everything is being pulled back. It's coming out from underneath your feet. It's not steady ground anymore. Everything's being pulled back. And then that wave just comes in, crashes, and it's like everything felt, 2019 made everything feel like it was just pulling back. So in a way, it was a depth year in the sense that we had to go deep within our emotions from start to finish. we had to learn hard lessons. We had to rearrange the way that we think and the way that we feel and the way that we interact with each other and with what's going on. And it's like it just pulled everything back. And when 2020 struck, this first week is just like finally that crash and everything else is settled. So I'm hoping that moving forward, it'll just be that breath of fresh air that we've needed for a long time. But I think that our heads are where they need to be. Our intentions are a lot different. They're a lot more defined, and we've already started out better than we were before. So here's to 2020 being a lighter year and a breath of fresh air and something that we all need after such a huge struggle. So I'm just going to put that out into the universe that 2020 is going to be a fantastic year. So that's it for this little depth year, kind of what's going on, or what happened in 2019. Hope that you guys have a great day, and I'm sending you all my love.